we should not be putting up with anything in silence. If there is something that is affecting your quality of life, you go and talk to the doctor about it. And if you can't get that comfort from your doctor, you find another doctor.
Hello and welcome to a brand new series of Thriving in Menopause, brought to you by Prevention Magazine. I'm Zoe Mernier, the editor of Prevention. It's great to be back to continue more conversations with experts in their field who can help us unravel the complexities of the menopause life transition. Joining us today, I'm very happy to be joined by Dr. Sarah White. Dr. White is the Chief Executive Officer of Jean Hales for Women's Health, Australia's leading non-governmental organisation providing women's health information and education to the general public and health professionals. She's also a member of the National Women's Health Advisory Council and the Therapeutic Goods Administration's Women's Health Products Group, and is still actively involved in women's health research today. So I think it's pretty safe to say she's a pretty good authority on women's health and menopause. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Zoe. I must say, though, I'm not a medical doctor, so I can give you the research, but not the treatment.
The research is quite fascinating and important
Indeed.
in itself. Now, I think one thing that comes up time and time again when we're talking about menopause is just the great lack of awareness, lack of understanding, and pretty much all-round confusion that surrounds it. So today, we're really going to tap into some of those common misconceptions and try and get to the bottom of some of them. So first of all, why do you think there is just so much confusion around menopause?
Great question. I think that we are talking about it at this sort of, I'm in midlife right now, just gone through menopause. We are talking about it where our mothers did not. We're also sharing a lot of experiences online, which is wonderfully empowering, but can also bring with it some misunderstandings and some misinformation. And then I think we have a huge multi-billion-dollar industry that's woken up to women in midlife having money, and there is a lot of selling of ideologies and lotions and potions and pills going on online. So there's a few different factors where we're now going, wait, hang on, suddenly menopause has come from almost nowhere. But actually there's organisations like mine have been working in menopause for 30 plus years. The Australasian Menopause Society has been working in 30 plus years. What we've got is now these new channels for information and a market. And so we've got lots of confusion and lots of different messages going on.
Yes. And I mean, I guess there's also the fact that menopause is very different for every woman, isn't it? It's not
It's
not like this is what happens. If only.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, let's talk about some of these misconceptions then. I think for many of us a big one is just when it starts, because I think a lot of people went through life thinking menopause is something that happens to old ladies, right?
Yeah, look, even me, it was like, oh yeah, it's going to happen one day. It's when I'm old, But actually, menopause, the average age in Australia is 51 years of age. It's slightly earlier for Black women from Asian backgrounds. But perimenopause, which is when your hormones are going a little crazy and you start to have those symptoms, that can start 5 to 7 years earlier. So we're talking 44, 45, 46, 47, that sort of age. That's the typical age, the average. Some people will start a little earlier, some people will start a little bit later, and of course there'll be some people who go straight into menopause because of a medical intervention.
Yeah.
But around about your mid-40s, even maybe a little bit earlier, yes, those periods going a little bit off cycle and starting to change, and maybe some other symptoms, it's probably likely to be perimenopause. But do go to your doctor and check, because there are some issues that have the same sorts of symptoms as menopause. So please do go and check. Don't just automatically assume.
Yes, indeed. But also, yes, I think good to know, because I think a lot of people going through a lot of those early symptoms who, again, are of that ilk of it happens to older women, just don't make the connection because they're not expecting.
No, they don't. And we have so many women who tell us, I found you because I started Googling early dementia.
Yes.
Because
It's
of brain
so true.
fog.
Yeah.
So, yes, there's a lot of, and even myself, I was suddenly, had this sort of, oh my gosh, how did I not even think this is perimenopause? And I've talked to GPs who've thought the same thing. Like,
Yes.
oh gosh, hang on, I've just suddenly realised.
Yes. Now, weight gain is, look, it's a huge thing for many women.
Huge thing.
And I guess a lot of women feel like it's kind of inevitable. What's Do you think that's the biggest misconception, or what are the biggest misconceptions out there about weight gain?
Yeah, so some of the best dietitians and people I speak to who work in this space will say weight gain in midlife is not inevitable. Now, from my position, it feels like it is,
And mine.
but I don't think it's more than anything. It's about our lifestyle changing. As we're aging, we are starting to put on more weight, whether it's the sedentary lifestyle, it's just not getting that exercise, particularly hard for women in midlife. What menopause does do, what that hormone change does, is shift that weight to the abdomen. So a lot of women say, but look at this, I've never had a tummy before and now I have. Yes, hormone changes will ensure that weight shifts to the tummy, unfortunately, but it is not inevitable. It is harder to shift it, much harder. It is harder to maintain the muscle mass. That's a function of aging. We seem to give the blokes a pretty good pass on this, but I know a lot of my male friends of my age are also showing no longer have their 20 to 30-year-old body.
This is very
Let's put
true.
it like that.
This is very true.
All women experience menopause in their own unique way, and for many, menopause can bring challenging symptoms like hot flushes, night sweats, mood swings, and mild anxiety. Supporting your body through this transition is essential to your well-being. It's time to focus on you. To help you on your journey, Promensal Menopause is a non-hormonal plant-based product designed to help relieve menopausal symptoms. The Promensal range has been designed to ensure you're not held back from embracing this new life stage. Choose from Promensal's menopause range to support you through all the stages of menopause. It's time to get back to being you. Always read the label and follow the directions for use.
Now, another huge issue is libido. And so I guess a lot of women their libido will take a dive, and they probably feel that sensation is gone forever, or that lack of libido is permanent. So what's your take on that?
So libido is one of those really tricky ones where it's hard to tell whether that's due to the decline in hormones, which is around its menopause, or whether that's actually just a function of I've been with this guy for a very long time, or this partner for a very long time. So it's, we're attracted to people on whole different levels, and that feeling around the first blooms, if you like, you start going out on dates with people, that's often not where we're at in midlife. So if you have low libido that bothers you, then testosterone is an option. But for a lot of women, it's actually not necessarily about their sex drive. It's actually more about all of those other things that drive you to want to have sex with that person,
Yes.
if that makes sense.
Well, yes. I mean, I guess, number one, if you've got all those other menopausal symptoms, that's not going to help.
Yeah, that's
and
right. And so, so vaginal dryness is a really common symptom from going through the menopause transition and the estrogen decreasing. That sex hormone decreases, and you have vaginal dryness. That again. Menopause hormone therapy, MHT, really good options there. So go and talk to your doctor. That can be part of it if sex becomes painful, but for a lot of women, it's also I'm juggling everything else at this time. And I've talked to quite a few women who are in new relationships and going, no, libido's not a problem now.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That's another whole podcast for another.
That's a whole other podcast, Zoe. No, let's not go there.
Now, of course, HRT is another area that has a host of confusion. So, number one, the safety of it, I guess, is a big misconception. Would you say is the biggest misconception about HRT?
Yeah, absolutely. So we talk about menopause hormone therapy, or MHT in Australia, and there was a terrible, terrible study done 20-odd years ago that said there are some risks around breast cancer using MHT. We now know that MHT does not have these terrible risks that were described 20-odd years ago for a whole bunch of reasons. MHT is still by far and away the very best treatment for managing those moderate to severe menopause symptoms that are affecting your quality of life. So I would really strongly encourage women to go and talk to their GP about MHT, menopause hormone therapy, if they're having trouble with menopause symptoms. Do not be scared if their doctor suggests MHT. Not all women can take it. It's very much around your individual circumstances. This is why we say do not take your advice on MHT from people online, even if they are doctors. Go and see your GP, because you have very personal risk factors that need to be discussed. But by and large, the benefits well and truly outweigh those risks.
Yeah. Now, mindset. I think,
yes.
It's such a broad term, but I think for a lot of women, they get to this age, they're having these symptoms. They're starting to feel, I guess, invisible, if you will, and that feeling that it's just all downhill from here, and especially, I'm sure, exacerbated by all these hormones.
So in our culture, menopause is really caught up with gendered ageism. It goes back to your first question. I can't have these symptoms of menopause because I'm not old. And so we sort of think midlife old, menopause old. And so we've got this really negative kind of cultural approach to menopause in Australia. And it's really, I think, important that we try not to buy into this whole my whole life is over at menopause. In fact, there's a whole wonderful world on the other side of it. And we also know that if you dread menopause, if you've got this fear of menopause, you are more likely, very good studies showing you are more likely to have symptoms that really bother you. So it's really important for us to be prepared but not scared. That's what we tell people. Be prepared but don't be scared of it. And, one of the things that keeps getting a little bit lost in this discussion about menopause is that we know around about 1 in 4 to 1 in 3, those estimates vary a little, will have really moderate to severe symptoms that really do interfere with the quality of life. About the same amount have no symptoms. And everybody else, half to 1/3, fall in this category of, I've got symptoms and they're really annoying, but they're manageable.
Yeah.
And so we have to acknowledge that some women have this terrible, terrible time, and we have to wrap our arms around them. We have to give them the support and the treatment, the care they need. But most women don't have a hard time of it going through menopause. And we focus so much on those stories, those experiences that are bad, but actually most women, I've even had women say to me, I can't talk about menopause because I was fine and I didn't have anything and I don't want to seem like I'm crowing about it.
Yeah.
But actually, I think it's really important to acknowledge a significant minority of women will have a bad experience. Most will not. It doesn't mean to, diminish the experience. People are having a really hard time of it, but it doesn't mean you should necessarily be scared of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yes, for sure. Go in with a positive mindset and know that.
Yeah.
Know that there are options.
We have options.
Yes,
we have options for treatment. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. What about we've talked about mindset, but mental health in general. What are the biggest misconceptions about mental health and how that's affected through menopause?
Yeah, so there's usually a lot going on in a woman's life in at midlife, and we talk about the midlife collision. We've often got kids you're caring for, elderly parents. It's career, partner, a whole cognitive load. So there's a lot going on. So this is particularly a time when you're at risk, really, of anxiety and depression, particularly if you've experienced it before. We really do need to address those things that might be affecting your life outside of menopause. So, you can put an MHT patch on your backside, but it's not going to help if you're running around to try and help your 80-year-old mother while negotiating, kids in school.
Yeah.
So we need to tease some of that apart. Having said that, it is a time of increased risk for women in terms of mental health. So I would again say if anyone's experiencing struggles or starting to get that sense that things are really getting on top of them, to go and talk to one of your healthcare professionals straight away, because again, if we can help stabilise a little bit of those hormones, make sure you're getting a good night's sleep, taking away the stress of some of those hot flushes, for example, that will help.
Absolutely.
Struggling with thinning hair or lack of volume? You're not alone. New Nordic's hair volume supplement is formulated with herbal ingredients like zinc and biotin to support thicker, healthier hair. Plus, it nourishes your nails and skin for a complete beauty boost. Discover the benefits at hairvolume.au and give your hair the support it needs naturally.
I guess because we are hearing more and more about menopause and what symptoms are connected to it, which are indeed a large list. Do you have a lot of women that sometimes are just attributing every symptom to menopause? Is that a bit of an issue at this time of life?
Yes, I see a lot of stories online where there's so many things attributed to menopause. And I think it's actually really important to step back and say, well, not everything is going to be due to menopause. We need to know the real reason behind something to be able to provide the best treatment and care for that. So we absolutely know that hot flushes and night sweats and vaginal dryness, completely unequivocally, caused by that hormone decrease. Other symptoms that women report as being linked to menopause but don't perhaps have quite the same level of evidence to things like brain fog, itchy skin, some of that libido, the joint pain, sometimes sleeplessness. And there'll be so many people listening to this and going, oh my God, I absolutely had brain fog when it came to menopause. But our challenge is understanding whether it's the night sweats causing that sleeplessness that's then causing the brain fog on top of the cognitive overload because you're running, basically 3 jobs and 6 kids and whatever. That's what we have to dig into. So I think we need to perhaps step back, give ourselves a little bit of a break when we're experiencing any of these symptoms and try and peel away what else might be going on that is contributing to it. Because not all of these symptoms are going to be caused by menopause. They're going to be caused by other things. And we need to acknowledge there's an awful lot going on. It's not necessarily just all menopause.
Yeah. And look at getting those things treated, obviously, if you're having joint pain or,
Absolutely.
Get that investigated and find out,
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
And I guess finally, that whole sort of misconception that, which is slowly dying, I think, that we just have to suffer through in silence and just get on and put up with things.
Yeah, that's right. No. We should not be putting up with anything in silence. If there is something that is affecting your quality of life, you go and talk to the doctor about it. And if you can't get that comfort from your doctor, you find another doctor. And I know that is exceptionally difficult when we're talking about women in regional and rural Australia. So particularly though when it comes to menopause, there are some good online services and telehealth services that you can look into, but we really shouldn't be suffering in silence. There is no need to fear menopause hormone therapy. There is, there are options out there to help. Absolutely. I cannot be stronger on that. We really need to talk about it, be prepared, not scared, and definitely not suffer in silence.
Thank you so much, Dr. White. That was really, really valuable information, and it was lovely to have a chat with you today.
Oh, my pleasure, Zoe. Anytime.
And readers, thank you for joining us today as well. If you liked this episode of Thriving in Menopause, don't forget to rate, review and subscribe. And we look forward to you joining us for episode 2 next week. I'm Zoe Mernier. See you next time.